Hello everybody, this is the Praetorian again. I am coming to you after doing my second part in my series on liberalism. And I had a couple things cross my mind that I thought would be interesting to talk about. The one thing that I do want to talk about is words. I'm starting to hear more people on the internet say what I've thought and said for quite a while too. Don't minimize words. Don't minimize languages and what words mean. Because take like the court system, for example. In the judiciary system, they have a language all of their own, and some of this language is language that concerns consent. So when you go into court, you're standing there and you're there with your representative, or your defender, whatever it is, and you don't realize that the moment you hired somebody else to represent you in court, they're the ones that speak for you. So what you've done is you've separated yourself from the court by placing somebody who's more knowledgeable about the law in your place to talk to the judge. Well, there's things that are involved that can be manipulated because of certain issues. Like, each person, when they go to court, they have a right to a speedy trial, and that's something that's always been there. It's always been a part of the court systems. Well, the only issue that I have with that is, even though you have a right to a speedy trial, when you go into these situations, you have to really look at your personal situation and understand, do you really need a speedy trial, or do you need your trial to be longer? A lot of people, it's a good idea, to have a speedy trial, because they have a certain time frame where they have to present evidence and be able to pull up evidence before their time limit's up. That's good in that sense. But the judge also has things that he's learned to manipulate. The court systems have learned to manipulate. I had to deal with something that was called consent by stipulation. And what that was my public defender and the judge met up and said, look, we need to have a speedy trial. We need to get this out of the way so that we can deal with another case. So I need you to give consent by stipulation on this. And, your public defender, he's like, okay, yeah, well, we can go ahead and do that. So they gave consent by stipulation on your behalf without you having a say in it. And this is happening all over the place when it comes to the court systems. They're literally getting away with doing things that is illegal. It's constitutionally illegal, and they continue to do it. I have an issue with, like contempt of court, okay? Contempt of court is completely unconstitutional. According to the three branches of government, the judiciary branch is the only branch that the individual can go to speak about his complaints. Not just about issues where you get arrested, you get in trouble, you go to court. But if you have honest grievances, that's where you go. That's where you are heard. When any kind of government tries to tell you that you don't have a right to go before a judge and speak about what your grievances are in the manner which you wish to speak, that is unconstitutional. That judge gave an oath when he took office, and if he can't respect that oath, then he is not a legitimate judge. Okay? The judge serves you. The judge serves the people. The judge doesn't serve the state of Illinois or the state of California or the federal government. The judge serves you. So when you go into court, you have to freaking understand. You have to think to yourself. You have to say, and ask them even, say, are you serving me or are you serving the government? Are you serving the state? Get that information. Once you establish that, then you can go forward. But until you understand that, don't. Be careful. Another thing that really I seen in there when it came to the language was the word tacit. You know, I've to this day I've still had an issue with the Constitution and contractual theory, and my whole problem with it was the idea of going into a contract agreement with the government at the time of my birth. Okay, I know that a big conspiracy, I guess you'd say. I don't even know if it would be even called a conspiracy, but a conspiracy has started about the straw man fallacy, and people believe that if you go into court, then you're representing your straw man and all that crazy stuff. But for me, let me say this, okay? The straw man fallacy is something that has gone way out of proportion. And what it all started from was from contract theory and constitutional law. And what it is it has to do with your sovereignty and your freedom according to consciousness. Now, the government made an agreement with you at birth that they were going to protect you, but in exchange you have to give up a certain amount of your rights in order for them to do that. That means that if you go out and you do something that is wrong, the government has a right to correct you by arresting you and putting you in jail or prison or both and taking away rights. And this is all to protect you from yourself and from the sovereignty, from the rest of the people. Okay? That's what that consists of. Now, for me, what I have an issue with is agreeing with a contract agreement at birth with the government that they can do this. I don't think that is really a good thing. I completely against that. I don't see that as being legitimate whatsoever. And that's just my personal belief on that. When it comes to the straw man fallacy and those ideas, the reason why I say that the straw man fallacy is just complete bullshit is because it doesn't matter if you show up for court or not, okay? You're already in a contract agreement before you even get a summons to show up for court. It's not about you signing papers. It's not about any of that when it comes to contractual theory, all right? You show up for court because you have an agreement with the government from the time of your birth that you're going to do certain things. And that's the reason why they can get you for contempt of court if you don't show up. And then you'll be sitting your butt in jail for 3-4 days until Monday, because it's always on Friday, you know. But that's the thing that I've always had an issue with. I don't know why. I also don't like the idea of Jean Jacques Rousseau. He said it. He said that in so many words. He said that we aren't, or we're too ignorant to govern ourselves, so we have to be governed. You know, um, I really don't like all of that. I don't like that kind of language. I find that it's a way of replacing empirical beliefs with constitutional beliefs. It's just trading one evil for another form, and I can see from all my research where that's caused problems. We have lobbyists, we have corporations, we have special interest groups, we have organizations like Planned Parenthood and frickin' Greenpeace and all of this, and it seems to me that all of these people, or all of these groups, and all of these organizations, and all of these lobbyists and, movements like, Citizens United and things like that, J.P. Morgan, all of these things are more important than the individual. They're more important than me. They're more important than you. And that's an issue. It's something that we need to really take a look at. I've checked back on it, and I've found a lot of information, like especially with this corporation thing. I've heard a lot of people with their theories on where it started, and for me personally, I found that it started with Dartmouth College back at the end of the Revolutionary War. The colonies, or the United States now at that time, wanted to force Dartmouth into becoming a public college instead of a private college like it was. And Dartmouth took the United States government to court and sued them, and they won. The reason why they won was because there was a contract between the Crown of England and between Dartmouth College that guaranteed that they could stay a private college. And according to the Constitution, all contracts are to be respected. Contract agreement is one of the most important things. Contract theory is real, and I don't want anybody to confuse me and think that I'm saying that you can take your birth certificate or your social security number and go out and make money off of it, because that's not true. You can't do it. That's just crap that scammers and con artists come up with, but contract theory is true. And people that try to tell you that, the Constitution and all of those old political ideas from back in the day that were around is just outdated, and now government has gotten so out of hand and it's so much more complicated, that don't listen to those people. It's just complete freaking garbage. Okay? Government and the Constitution is as true today as it was before. That's the reason why the Constitution cannot be changed. It's the reason why the Bill of Rights cannot be changed. It's true. In math, think about it. What's the difference between true and false? That's what you got to think about. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights are true today as much as what it was back then. So do not let people try to convince you otherwise. They're the ones that want to make you think that you need to give up all that and stop thinking about all that, because today it's all about socialism and all that political correctness bullshit, and it's not. So I'm almost done with my jabber. I'm going to get off of here. I want to thank you all for your time. Have a good day.